Hi, this is Sue Glenn. I am going to go through how to manipulate the data from the Pollination Lab, and I'm not going to leave my camera on. I'm just going to be sharing my Excel spreadsheet with you. If I do seem to fumble a little bit, I have my assistant here today. This is Rosebud. Picture of Rosebud. She is obviously lying across my lap with my laptop, and occasionally reaching out and grabbing my hand. So if it seems like I'm not doing the right thing, Rosebud's just trying to correct me. So I'm going to turn off my camera. And I am sharing you an Excel spreadsheet. So I have shared the Pollination Excel spreadsheet with the class. And when you open it up, you'll download it and then open it up, and it looks like this. And I find this extremely difficult to work with because of the way they've got it set up. So what I have done is I just make a new sheet, which I will call example or analysis or whatever you want. And then I will go back, click this little box up in the corner here, and that will give me select the entire sheet, go into example, and then I can go control. Well, actually, I'm going to right click to paste it. Did I select it? Go back here. I need to right click and copy it, and then go over here and right click, and I'm just going to paste the values. So I don't want any fanciness here. And there it is, all pasted in there. And I'm going to select that first row, and I'm going to wrap the text, and that way I can see the actual headings for the columns. Now I might clean this up a little bit. I don't need columns A through E, so I just highlight those and delete them. And then it's hard to read some of this stuff, so you can take your columns and spread them out. This date information, I'm going to change it from general to short date. That way I know when the data was collected. Sometimes I get some funky formatting here. Make sure I know those are just numbers. They're all coming off as numbers, so those guys are, we'll see how it works. And now I can see stuff a little bit clearer. So I made up this data so that we would have something to work with. And I just want to show you how to manipulate your file. So in your file, you can see that we have all the data from different flowers at different times that I submitted. So my name's on all of these. These are the flower names, the dates they were submitted. Then we have, is this a new flower or are you updating a previous submission? If I'm updating a previous submission, then you could go through and find that person's previous one and take it out, and that way you're not duplicating data. Then we've got the number of flowers, the flower colors, the time the data was collected, the habitat, the temperature, the humidity, the wind speed. Okay, so these wind speeds are all in miles per hour. So if you've got a variety, you're going to need to convert those and fix those. So you might want to make another column if you're going to do that, if you're using wind speed as one of your variables. What I'm going to do, since these are all miles per hour, I'm just going to adjust my heading because they're all the same. And then I'm going to go down here just so that they're numbers. And I'm going to remove the MPH. So find and select, find and replace, find MPH, replace with nothing, replace all, and they're all done. Yeah, they're all gone. And then now they're all numbers. So looking through the data, you might have various hypotheses about the number of bees or the number of butterflies, the flower color, the time of day, whatever it is you want. You can go through, you can select out the data that you want and then put that in a separate data set. So let's say I just want to deal with data with bees. Well, I can take my whole data set, just highlight the whole thing. I don't need these notes and comments because there's nothing there. I can take the whole data set and I can data sort. And it's going to be different if you're on a Mac. It's not going to look exactly the same way. I have data headers, so I'm going to sort by, let's say I'm just interested in honeybees. And I want to go from the ones with lots of honeybees to less, so largest to smallest. Okay. Sort anything that looks like a number as a number. Go. And so now you can see my data is sorted with the ones with the most honeybees at the top and the ones with no honeybees at the bottom. So I might just be interested in looking at honeybees compared to all the other pollinators. So let's just say I want to add up the total pollinators. And so that's going to equal sum, open the parentheses, highlight all the pollinators, close it, and hit enter. And so that flower had 18 pollinators total. And I could type that into every row, but I don't have to. I could just grab that and pull it down. So if you want to see me do that again, the little weeny tiny box in the corner, you take that and you pull it all the way down. And now it's given me the total number of pollinators in every row. But let's just say I want to compare honeybees to all the other pollinators. So this number that I just calculated has all the pollinators. So let me just do that, subtract the honeybees. So I have pollinators minus honeybees. And so I can either just sum everybody else, or I can just take the number I got, subtract my honeybees, and hit enter. And I can just take that and drag that down. So now that I have that information, I might be interested, well, were the honeybees particularly attracted to yellow flowers? Because I look at this data and I can see like the honeybees tend to be a lot of them in these yellow flowers here. And when I was reading about pollination syndromes, orange and yellow, those were colors that honeybees liked. So why don't I see if I can find some sort of trend with the number of honeybees and the color of flowers. So let me just take this whole data set again. Let me sort it by flower color. Back up to the top. And I'm going to sort. And this time, instead of by honeybees, we're going to do flower color. And do that from A to Z. So now when I look at my data set, all the yellow ones are here together. So I could just take this yellow data set and I could make a new sheet full of flowers if I want to, or I could just stay on the same sheet I was on And I could go down here and I could say, okay, I'm just going to work on yellow flowers here. And let me just copy these lines of the yellow flowers. And paste them down there. And I can paste them now. Copy and paste area are not the same size. There we go. I had to pick that whole row, not just the individual spot. Sometimes things are a little finicky. Okay, so now I've just got the data from the other flowers, and I could compare that to, so I'm just going to highlight these rows. These were all yellow flowers, right? I could compare that to, I'm just going to go down a few lines, other colors. So then I have my data separated out the other colors as well. So I'm interested in looking at the number of honeybees, or the number of honeybees on the yellow flowers versus the other colors. So now my honeybee column is here, but I'm getting down pretty far and I can't see that anymore. So the way you can keep seeing your column is just freezing some rows. So if I go view and freeze panes and just click that top one. And so now, so I had clicked like right here on line 2 and then clicked freeze panes. And now when I scroll down, I can still see where my honeybees are. So my honeybees are right here. These were the honeybees on the yellow flowers. So I'm going to total those. So that equals sum, total up, close parentheses. I had 57 honeybees on the yellow flowers. And then I can go down here to the other flowers and do the same thing. I go equals sum, total these guys, close parentheses, hit enter. And I've got 14. Looks like there was a big difference. However, maybe there just were generally more pollinators around the yellow flowers. And so I should probably look at that in relation to everybody else. So I'm going to total up my other pollinators, which are over here, that are on the yellow flowers. And I could type equals sum again, but you know what? I can also sum each one of these columns by just taking that box, the little box in the corner of it, and just dragging it across. So now I have my total number of things other than bees and my total number of bees, honeybees. There are 68 pollinators in total, 57 of which are honeybees, and then, or 68 other pollinators and 57 honeybees. And I can do the same thing here. There were 39 pollinators on the other colors, and only 14 of those were honeybees. So I'd like to graph this. It's kind of awkward the way it's set up here, but what I know I'm dealing with, okay, I've got one variable, which is flower color. It's always easier to make another table. And I'm looking at yellow flowers and other colors. I want to make this column a little wider, just it's hard to type in. And then I have, see, I have honeybees and I have other pollinators. So I can take this date out of here. So let's see, the yellow flower honeybee numbers, just go equals and click on it. The other colors honeybee, go equals and click on it. Other pollinators on yellow flowers, equals, click on it. And other pollinators on other colors, I go equals, I click on the number 39. It's going to W48 or 40, row W49, and hit enter. I should call this row total. So it looks like there were more pollinators on the yellow flowers, but and fewer pollinators on the other colors. So maybe that would explain the difference. Why don't I just take a look? I can make a little graph. So I highlight my table. I going insert. I'm going to do a bar graph. And now I've got a little chart and it's showing you the yellow flowers and the other colors with the honeybees and the other pollinators. Now, something like this, I would probably want to put some yellow in it, and yellow's not going to show up very well. But one of the things I can do, if I'm going to look at the colors here, I can right click on this and I can go change the outline color or the fill color. So I'm going to leave the outline as blue so you can see it, but I'm going to make the fill yellow. And that way it's going to be much clearer, the yellow flowers versus the other color flowers. And my chart title, pollinator color. I haven't labeled my axes, so I need to do that. My axis titles, I click this. I've got pollinator. And here, total observed. And then you can move your graph to where you want. Now, it might seem, well, maybe I'll do this. This looks right. But I sit here and I look at it and I might come back and come to it later. And I realize, oh my goodness, you know what? There just might have been, oh, I've got a typo on there, sorry. There just might have been a difference in the number of flowers seen as well. Because if we do have that data on here, we have the total number of flowers. And so maybe I should see the number of pollinators per flower. So in order to do that, I should probably total up my number of flowers, which is in this column. So I can equal sum. So there's 10. And instead of looking at my total number of bees, maybe I should do the average number per flower. So that would equal total divided by the number of flowers. That actually works out pretty nicely. And do the same thing with my other pollinators. So I would have to total my number of flowers, the sum adding and then it's going to equal that divided by the number of flowers. And the same thing is I'm going to have to do for my other pollinators, that number divided by the number of flowers. And I can't just drag this over here to get that number. You see there's a problem, because if I just drag it over, it'll be taking this number and dividing it by the one next to that number, and this number and dividing it by the one next to that number. I want to keep going back to this 22. So another way I can keep coming back to the same number, if you want to have this number named as a constant, so I might have like the total number of yellow flowers, I go up to this little box right up in the top left side, and I click on it, and I can give that number a name. It can be a constant. So it could be yellow flowers, just the number of yellow flowers. You can't put any capitals, you can't put any spaces in here. And then I hit enter. And so now when I click on that, it's called yellow flowers. And so if I take something like that 68, and I go equals 68 divided by, I can put the word yellow flowers in there. And you can see that pops up right here. So I could actually go click on that, and it's gonna, whoops, that didn't work. Oh, I guess clicking on it didn't work. Let me try, let's see what does work. Yellow flowers. Why don't I just go back over and click on my yellow flowers, and the name will pop in. There we go. Otherwise, I have to check the whole thing out. It's right there. So that's my 6.8 of those and 1.7723. So if we want to change what we're looking at, then we can make up a new table. I'm just going to copy my old table. And in this case, we realized we had total number pollinators, preferences on that graph. So that was total. This would be average per flower. So in order to get those numbers, I'm going to go up here and get that number for the honeybees on yellow flowers and the honeybees on other colored flowers, other pollinators on yellow flowers, and the other pollinators on other colored flowers. Then I can highlight that, insert, insert. So here now, instead of using, we have my average per flower. And once again, I can go over here on my graph. I can add in my axis titles. Change my colors. Okay, so now things look really different. Now that I have adjusted it per flower, we can definitely see a lot more honeybees on the yellow flowers compared to the other pollinators. Another way you could look at this, instead of comparing it to the other pollinators, you could express it in terms of the percentage of the pollinators that are honeybees. So I could go over here and I could say percent honeybees and see if that changes. So I can go equals the number of honeybees divided by the total pollinators times 100, make it a percent. My original data set. I can do the same thing here. Oops. This would be equals the number of honeybees divided by total number of pollinators times 100. Same thing here. So then I can add those all up. Actually, instead of adding them up, I want the average per flower, right? So I can add them up. And then divide by my total number of flowers, which was over here. Right there. So I have 37.8% are honeybees on average on yellow flowers, and I can do the same thing down here. But instead of the yellow flowers, we're using other colors, flowers. So that's going to equal that divided by total times 100. Pull that down. Get the average equals the average divided by more flowers equals 16.2% honeybees. So that's going to be a much simpler graph. So let me just come up with a new table here. Here we're going to do percent honeybees. And once again, we'll have the same columns. Sometimes, like, organizing your sheets becomes important because you can see it can get kind of messy. You can wrap your columns if they're kind of spreading over like that. So I've got the average per flower. I'm not going to fix my typos right now with you. Just make it wider. There we go. And then it's my percent honeybees. And so the percentage of honeybees, I don't need the other pollinators, so I'm just doing the percentage of honeybees, which is that number. And the percentage, so that was on yellow color flowers, and then percentage on other flowers equals that. I don't need this column, so I can just delete it. And then I can go ahead and make a graph of that. Insert, do the bar graph again. And look, I've got my honeybees on yellow flowers versus other colored flowers. And that says the percent. So this is going to be the percentage of pollinators that are honeybees. So this y-axis is going to be per flower. Okay. And this is my flower color. So I'm not saying this has to be your hypothesis. Your data is going to be messier than what I started with. You probably have to clean it up a little bit. And you might need to take some data out. There might be some duplicates. So after you've cleaned it up, you can take a look through, come up with a hypothesis. You have a lot of different things you could work with. You could work with flower colors, time of day, because you tend to get more pollinators at certain times. People will be doing it different days. There might be different types of weather. Pollinators are poikilotherms, so these insects, their body temperature changes with the day's temperature, so you might look at temperature or relative humidity. If it's windy, it's going to make a difference, whether it's sunny. So you could actually come up with a number of different hypotheses. You've got different pollinators to look at. So we'll see what the data looks like, but just give you some ideas of how to deal with it, and ways of graphing it in Excel. And hopefully that helps you out a little bit.